Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah, Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is Thamayim in Atlanta, and today we're going to talk about the Apocrypha and how it pertains to the scriptures and the prophecies within the Bible. It was removed by the Edomites in the late 1800s, and it's definitely, those 14 books of the Apocrypha definitely belong within the entire Bible. It dances with all the rest of it, and it gets rid of the Greek captivity or the Greek kingdom, which you need that to understand the New Testament and the Bible as a whole. And so let's get into it. This is Daniel 7:1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. And so Daniel had a vision at night and woke up and wrote it all down. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. That sea pertaining to peoples, nations, and tongues, as said in the book of Revelation. And four great beasts came up from the sea. These four great beasts, these beasts are referring to kingdoms. It says diverse one from another, because each kingdom is a little different from the last one. The first was like a lion, this being the Assyro-Babylonian empire or kingdom, and had eagle's wings. Those wings referring to the Assyro portion and the Babylonian portion. And you could think of it as a griffin, a lion with eagle's wings. And I'm sure you've seen that image of a griffin before. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And so it came into power. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and this is the Medo-Persian Empire. And it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And this is on one side pertaining to the Persian portion of this empire was actually stronger than the other portion. And it had three ribs in the mouth of it. And these are the three countries that it took down to obtain the power and positioning that it had. And this was Egypt, Lydia, and Babylon. So it took down the previous beast before it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. As in, it took and captured a lot of territory, a vast amount of territory. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard. And that is the Greek kingdom, which is referred to as a leopard, and that's pertaining to Slovakia. I guess there's an air show around me. Oh, I actually see those planes flying in formation. Esau's angels. Slovakia. But that leopard, going further into it, it's talking about Alexander the Great, or Alexander the Greek, because he conquered the known world in 12 years. He conquered very swiftly and quickly, like unto a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl. The beast had also four heads, and dominion was given to it. And so those four heads are going into Alexander's four generals, which were Lysimachus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucus, and they controlled 4 different portions of this kingdom of the Greek Empire. And dominion was given to it. After this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. And this is the Roman Empire. And so we're seeing the progression from Babylon to the Medo-Persians to the Greeks to where we are now in the Babylonian Empire. And they were known for their iron weapons, and that's how they had such an advantage. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it, as in it took down these previous kingdoms and was the main player. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and that's because they had a senate and not a king like the previous kingdoms. And it had 10 horns, these being the vassal states of the Roman Empire. Verse 8, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, and this being America, or Babylon the Great. In prophecy, the Babylon, Slovakia, what's known in prophecy as Babylon the Great, not the first beast. But this is America, what it's speaking about. Before whom were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. These 3 first horns are the British, the French, and the Spanish. And if you look around America, you notice that a lot of the cities have Spanish names or French names or English names. And behold, there's these planes again. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, Yahweh, whose garment was white as snow, white pertaining to the purity, not color, not skin color, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. And so I went into that to show the prophecies of these kingdoms that would rise and fall before the return of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and the kingdom of heaven is set up. And so if you notice back here at verse 6, it said, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, the Greek kingdom, the Greek captivity for the Israelites, that was completely removed from the Apocrypha. And we're going to go in and see why. So this is 1 Maccabees 1:1. And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece. Stead is in his lineage, his stock, his race. He was the first one over Greece because before that, Japhetic people ruled Greece, and then came Alexander, who was actually an Edomite. And it goes into, actually, let's just go ahead and see. 1 Maccabees 4:61. And it says, and they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. And this is Judas Maccabees and his brothers fighting against the Idumeans, who took on the name of Greeks. Alexander and his armies weren't Greeks, they were actually Idumeans. So back to 1 Maccabees 1:2. And made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. And that is Alexander. And went through to the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. because he conquered the known world in just 12 years. That's why he's likened to a leopard back at Daniel 7 and 6. And he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. And so these are the four generals that I was speaking of: Lysimachus, Cassander, Ptolemy, and Seleucus. It says, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place. It's in these different territories that they split up between them. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And these evils were multiplied because this is the wicked that are ruling. As Job 9 and 24, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. And so the people that are currently ruling are the wicked, which would be the Edomites, which we just went and looked at. These were Edomites. And Malachi 1 and 4 says that the Idumeans, the Edomites, are the wicked within the scriptures. And so they're in rule. The Greeks are the Idumeans, which is the Greek way of saying Edom. They were in power. And here's what they did during this Greek captivity. This is 1 Maccabees 1 and 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. And so this is the Hellenization process, and it's what they did. They went around conquering nations, and they made them submit to their ways and their philosophies and their way of life and their laws and just their influence in general. This is where the Israelites lost there was one place where you could see where we lost our heritage and ways. 42, and everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yeah, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. And so, this is how later in the New Testament, where you see Jew or Greek, this is how the Israelites became Greeks, because they started practicing the ways and customs of the Greeks. And so when you look it up, Galatians 3 and 28, there is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Yahushua Hamashiach Yahushua. And so that's why they're called, that Hellenization process we just looked at in 1 Maccabees 1 and 41. This is where they became Greeks. And so there's no difference between them because they're the same people. It's just some of us lost our way and went after the ways of the heathen. And the Lord told us not to do that. Romans 10 and 12. For there's no difference between the Jew, as in Israelites or the southern kingdom that were there, which Jew is short for Judah, who were, and these, where it says Jew, that's because these Israelites were keeping their ways and customs that we were told to keep. And then it says, and the Greek. And so these Greeks, they left off from the ways, and so they became Greeks, Israelites that became Greeks. For the same Lord over all is rich unto all that call upon him. And so, if you don't have this understanding of the Greek captivity, you're not going to understand the New Testament where it says certain things like Jew or Greek. Let's go to Psalms 50 and 16. And it says, "But unto the wicked the Most High saith," the wicked being the Idumeans, the Edomites, "What hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth?" Because they took this book and controlled the narrative of it and made it into this love doctrine, while they actually used it as a Trojan horse to get into other nations and steal their resources, which we all know that this self-proclaimed white man has done throughout time. "Seeing thou hatest instruction and castest my word behind thee." And so they can't do what it says. They're absolutely adverse to the ways of the scriptures. And that's why they go around saying that the law is done away with. And they have to remove books. So they removed the Apocrypha to come up with this whole false doctrine in which they have. Which I want to go back to First Maccabees because it goes into showing how they even back in this Greek Empire they changed the pictures. Yeah, First Maccabees 3 and 48, "And laid open the book of the law," it's in the scriptures, "wherein the heathen," and these heathen being the Idumeans, the Greeks at the time, "had sought to paint the likeness of their images." So they changed all the judges within the book into looking self-proclaimed white, or really, as the scriptures describe it, red. And they put it onto themselves. And so, let's end it off here. Revelation 22 and 18. "For I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things," and here come those planes again, "the Most High shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book." And so when you take away, you actually have to add something back in. Verse 19, "And if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy," which, removing the Apocrypha from the Bible, is taking away from the words of the book of this prophecy. It's removing, taking away. "The Most High shall take away his part out of the book of life." And Esau never even had a part in that. And so you can only imagine the doom and destruction that is coming to them as a nation for touching the Bible and for touching the apple of the Lord's eye, the Israelites. "And out of the holy city from the things which are written in this book." So Esau's fate is death, destruction, slavery, and eventually being put out of the earth. They will not, in 1,000 years after Yahushua returns, we're going to bind them up, gather them up, bind them up, and burn them. They will be genocided pursuant to Obadiah 1 and 18 after they serve out their long, hard, terrible slavery. So with that, I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to planes again. I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.